Let's do that. Good call.
All right, recording. Okay. Now I have to find Steph's background. Oh yeah, that is cool. Nice background.
It's so great.
Welcome everybody to orientation for the Q2 2022. That's a lot of twos. Collab Lab cohort. So excited to meet all of you. So happy you're here. This next hour, it's mostly going to be Stacie and me kind of filling you in on how the program works and kind of getting you ready for your kickoff meetings, which I think are all tomorrow. Yeah, so basically, like, we want you to kind of just have a chance to kind of hear about it, but also ask any questions you might have about what you're about to do for the next 2 months together as this team of people. So yeah, we'll do introductions first. So we have a fairly big group. So if we have a smaller group, sometimes we'll have you say like something interesting about yourself, some fun fact or something, but we'll skip that in the interest of time. So we'll do name, pronouns if you're comfortable sharing them, where you are in the world at the moment, and then the other thing is just what team are you associated with here at Collab Lab? So TCL 40, TCL 44, whatever the team is, and if you're a developer or a mentor. So hi EJ. So yeah, I'll go first. So I'm Andrew Hedges and I'm the founder of Collab Lab. My pronouns are he, him. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I'm not directly mentoring any of the teams this time, but I will be available. I'll be at your first meetings this tomorrow, and then probably at some point, pop into future meetings as well. I won't be there every week, but I'll be seeing you around. Stacie, you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Stacie, she, her, hers. I also am not directly mentoring any teams this time. I'm a code of conduct responder for one team specifically, but also for all of you if you ever need anything from me. Yeah, around to answer questions, ask them.
You're in Sacramento.
I'm in Sacramento. Sometimes I'm in England. Yeah, that's it. Hi. I will pass it to Steph with the cool background.
Hi, I'm Steph, she, her pronouns, and I'm from just north of Dallas, Texas, and I'm in TCL 41.
Oh, and you can popcorn it to whoever you just want to pick to go next, or if you don't feel comfortable doing it, I'll do it.
Katie, you could go next.
Love it. I love it. Okay, well, my name is Katie. I'm so happy to be here. It's so nice to meet y'all. My pronouns are they, them. I know it's in chat, but I also wrote it down so I don't forget. I live in Portland currently, and I'm on TCL 40. And I will pass it off to Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie. I'm she, her. I'm from the UK. I'm in TCL 44. I'll pass it to Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm in Southern California near LA. I'm in TCL 40 as a mentor this time. I'm a Collab Lab alum, and my pronouns are she, her. And I'll pass it to Natasha.
Hello, everyone. I'm Natasha Johnson. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm in TCL 40. I'll pass it to Mike.
What is that, me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, sorry. I just.
I saw you just get in. We're doing name, pronouns, location, team.
What is this? Okay,
just
name,
intros, pronouns,
okay.
Location, team.
Mike Lambert, he, him, his. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I will be a mentor on TCL 41. Yeah, super excited. Thanks.
Pass it somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go Jimena. Not sure if you want it.
Yes. Hi, I'm Jimena. I'm in Munich, Germany. I'm in TCL 44, and my pronouns are she, her. And I'll pass it to Reda or Rida. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Hey everybody, I'm Reda. I go with the pronouns he, him, and I am from Morocco. And TCL 44. And I will pass it to Ryan.
There we go. Hello, I'm Ryan. My pronouns are he, him. I am in New York City, and I am a mentor with TCL 40. And I will pass it to Emily. Is it only one Emily, or it's the person I see?
I think so. Yeah. Hi, my name is Emily. I'm based out of Wichita, Kansas right now. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a part of group 43. I'll popcorn it to Simon.
Hey everybody, my name is Simon, pronouns he, him. I am based out in Milwaukee, Oregon, and I'm a part of the group TCL 43, and I will pass it off to Shireen. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shireen. I go by pronouns she, her, and I'm in Midland, Texas. And I'm also, I'm on team 42, and I will pass it to Nikki.
Hi, I'm Nikki, and I'm from just south of Portland, Oregon in Aurora, and I'm in TCL 43. And I'll pass it to Tim.
Hey everyone, I'm Tim, he, him pronouns. I'm currently living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm in TCL 42. And I will pass it to Cole.
Hi, I'm Cole. I'm in Georgia, the state, not the country. My pronouns are he, they, and I am in group 41. And I'll pass it to Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Clay. I'm in Philadelphia. Pronouns are she, her, and I'm in group 41. And I will pass it to Sonia.
Hello, I'm Sonia. I am she, her. I am just outside New York City in Greenwich, Connecticut, and I'm in TCL 40. And I will pass it on to Oledi. Not sure if I said that right.
Eddie, we're doing intros. We're just doing name, pronouns, team, and location. You want to?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. I can't put on my camera now because this place is really dark and
No,
I
worries.
really love to show my face. I'm in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm basically 20 years old and I'm still a college student.
Perfect. Good to meet you. Okay, since you got on late and probably don't know who has gone, I'll popcorn it to somebody. Frank, have you gone yet?
I have not. I came in late. Sorry.
No worries.
Hi, I'm
good.
Frank. Pronouns he, him. First-time mentor in the Philadelphia area in group 41. I'm going to have about Natasha. I don't know if I'm late, so I'm not sure if she went already.
Oh yeah, I think Natasha went. Maybe
Sorry.
Zenzi. Zenzi, why don't you go?
Okay.
Hi, I am Zenzi, pronouns she, her. I am one of the mentors for group TCL 41, and I am in Newark, Delaware. Let's see, I'm going to popcorn it over to Manjiri, maybe? Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Manjari. My pronouns are she, her. I'm in group 42 and I live in Canada, Ontario. Hello, it's good to be here.
Oh yeah, it's good to have you here.
So I was late, so I don't know who else went.
Okay, yeah.
No
I
worries.
think from now on, maybe Stacie, like we can select the next people.
right.
Rachel, why don't you go?
Hi there, I'm Rachel. My pronouns are she, her. I'm in the Denver, Colorado area, and I am in group 43.
Excellent. Ayu, we're doing name, pronouns, team, location.
Okay, hi, I'm Ayu, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm in the Netherlands and I'm a code of conduct responder for TCL 44.
Excellent. Sonia, did you go yet?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Gosh.
Andrea, EJ, Alex. Those are all people
Okay,
that haven't gone.
cool.
Okay.
Great. Such a big group
Should I
right
go?
now.
You mentioned a couple people. Okay,
Go
sure.
ahead.
Hi, I'm EJ. My pronouns are they, them. I'm in the LA area and I'm a mentor for TCL 40.
Andrew, I'll just let you pick because you seem to have a better grasp once he's gone than me.
Shireen? I don't know if did I pronounce that right?
Yes, I actually already went.
Oh, you
Okay.
did? Oh, wow. Where were you? Where are you located? I missed
Okay,
it.
no, it's okay. I'll go again. I'm in Midland, Texas, and I'm also on Team 42. I don't think there are very many Team 42 people here yet. I know Manjari, I think, is one, but
Jerry
and
and Tim.
okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Your team's here.
And I'm
Represent.
she, her. So
Okay, great. Thanks.
Nice to
Thanks
meet
for
everyone.
catching me back up. I don't know how I missed that.
All right, we know Alex.
Yeah, Alex, why don't you go?
I'm Alex Ball, and I am a mentor for Team 42, and I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Excellent.
Andrea, I think you haven't gone, right?
I have not.
Okay.
My name's Andrea. I go by Andy. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, she, her pronouns, and first time mentor with group 42.
Excellent.
I think that's everybody. Anybody not go?
Okay. Raise your hand if you didn't go. It's not because we're rude or hateful people. It's just I've been busy in the chat. Okay. All right.
Cool.
Phew. That was great.
Yeah. So good to meet you all. It's so fun to have you in all these different places in the world and all coming together to do this work together. So yeah, it's this is one of my favorite things that we do. It's just like just meet everybody for the first time. Stacie, you want me to share my screen? I have the
Sure. Sounds great.
The orientation doc pulled up. So yeah, we're gonna spend the rest of our time today kind of going over this doc. You can actually, this one is in TCL 44's repo, but this same doc is in all of your repos. So you can actually follow along there. There's also a version in Spanish. If you speak Spanish, I'm gonna prefer that. So just with the -es instead of -en. So yeah, so let's talk about this thing. So what is the Collab Lab? I mean, it's a little late now, you're here. So, but the Collab Lab exists to help early career engineers get experience working on software teams. It's something that's really hard to kind of simulate if you're just studying on your own. Even a lot of boot camps, they might have group projects and things, but they're not really run, in my experience, having been a boot camp instructor, those group projects are often not run sort of the same way that professional software teams operate. So if you're here, you're going to get that kind of experience. You're all here because you have skills coding. You've kind of been doing that part of it, and now you're here to learn how to pair program and do a code review and how to demo your work and just do all the things that professional software teams do. So the goal of the project is you're going to be working together to build this smart shopping list app. It learns your shopping habits over time. So as you make purchases, it starts to understand the interval at which you normally buy eggs or peanut butter or whatever the thing is, and starts to put those things at the top of the list when they're sort of due to be bought again. So kind of a fun little app. Everybody builds the same app so that we have a really good idea of how long each of the tickets, the stories take to complete, so that we can have a nice predictable cadence throughout the course of the project. So while you're all building the same app and it's the same set of instructions, every app comes out a little bit different. Like the personality of the team ends up being reflected in the design of it, and just sort of, some teams pay more attention to accessibility and some teams pay more attention to, maybe the design or the copy or different things. So it's really fun to see at the end of the 8 weeks how all the apps turn out. Not to anchor your experience of it, but it is actually it's good to kind of know where you're going, right? So we really encourage you all to watch this demo video from TCL 6, which seems like forever ago, but now that we're on TCL 44, but the video is really good. It's just Jen, who was a developer on that team, does a little walkthrough of the app that her team built. And so you kind of see what all the features are, how they fit together at the end of the project. So when you're doing the first couple of little pieces, you can be kind of like, where is this going? But if you've seen how the app is going to end up, then you kind of know. So, so yeah, so definitely watch that. So who are you working with? So when you join Collab Lab, you're now part of this community of developers and early career people, and people who've been in the industry for a long time. We've had out of our mentor group, we've had people who literally were starting their very first job at the same time they were starting as a mentor. We have people who are alums of the program who are mentoring, all the way through to people who've been engineering leaders for decades. So we've had this whole range of people with different experiences. They're all in the Slack team still, and a lot of them are still active. So you now have access to people who are like, they do this work professionally and they can answer your questions and things. So so take advantage of that community. There's some channels. There's the Learning Together channel and the a couple of job searching channel and things where you can get advice as you're trying to break into the industry. But you're going to be, so every quarter we kick off a new cohort, and that's these kind of regionally based teams. So this time we have 4 teams in North America. We have 1 team in Europe and Africa. Next time we'll very likely have a Latin America team that runs in Spanish. So like Jimena, if you know people in Argentina who would like to do this program, please let them know.
Recommended.
Okay, good. Yes, that's what I like to hear. So all those teams are composed of 4 developers who work together to complete the app, and 3 mentors who are professionals in the field or alums of the program who help you and support you as you go through it. So why are we here? What do we like? What's the whole point of this thing? Like, we really believe that knowing to code is just one aspect of being a professional web developer. So, knowing how to effectively collaborate is equally as important, in my experience, to getting a job and doing well once you're in the job. So, one of the things we really lean on here, we really believe in, is pair programming. So. Each week, the expectation here is that you'll put in about 5 hours per week. The bulk of that, 2, 3, maybe 4 hours a week is going to be spent pair programming. So what that means is each week you're going to be paired up with another developer on your team, and the 2 of you are going to be assigned one of the tickets for that week. So each week, the 4 people, we break into 2 teams. You each take 1 ticket, and as long as each pair gets their ticket done each week, like, you'll march through the app and you'll kind of have a fully functioning app at the end of the time. So the 2 of you will work together. You will, you'll teach each other and learn from each other, and figure things out together. There's kind of a very common sort of driver navigator pattern that people use, where one person's doing the coding while the other person's maybe looking up, what parameters does the API need, and those kinds of things, right? So you're kind of working together to solve the problem. So really lean into that. Pair programming can be a little uncomfortable at first, but once you've paired with each of the people on your team, so after the 3rd week, we'll actually do a learning module on pair programming, where we'll talk about a little bit more about some techniques to make it more effective. We wait until a couple weeks in so that you've had experience just experimenting and trying it. There's no one right way to do it. So we really want you to kind of just have a little bit of experience, that by the time you have the learning module, you're like, oh yeah, we tried that. That didn't work for me very well, but this other thing worked, so you can kind of engage with that content. So yeah, I think that's it for me. I'm just going to be scrolling now while Stacie takes over.
Excellent. Yes. Okay. So how does this all work? Great question. So this project that you're going to be working on, again, like Andrew said, on your project, there's 4 developers and 3 mentors guiding you. So the project is organized in GitHub as a set of user stories. Each of those user stories has a description that tells you what it needs to be doing to be done, and those are called acceptance criteria. All of these are found in what is called a backlog. In your case, this backlog is a GitHub project. And I'm saying all of these words because these are really important words for you to know when you're going out and interviewing for jobs. Because again, writing the code is one thing, but knowing how projects are organized and how software development companies actually make progress on their tools is a whole nother side of being an engineer. So you'll get very familiar with this language. But each of your teams has their own backlog. Andrew, would you mind just popping up into 44's project board and kind of show how to navigate there? So if you were team 44, for example, you would go to your repo and click on projects. And on the left, click on projects because they're going through a beta of this new feature, which we're not using. And you can click here. So when you're looking here, you can see this board has to do, in progress, ready for peer review, ready for mentor review, and done. And if you open one of these tickets, just say number 1, for example, it is a little fuzzy right now, but whenever it clears up, you'll see it has a kind of a definition of what you need to do as a team to make sure that this ticket's complete. So what you would do if you were assigned number 1, we'd move it to in progress, assign you and your partner to it, because you and your partner will work on one ticket. And then once it's ready for review from your teammates, you'll move it over to ready for review, and it'll keep tracking through this board all the way till it's done. So what I highly recommend, just like Andrew said, you should run through that video and see what you're going to build. It will benefit you so greatly if you all read through each one of these stories so that you know what's upcoming, because what we've seen in the past is somebody will be like, well, we're working on number 2. Let's just go ahead and add this other feature. But that other feature was a whole nother ticket down the line. So it's like people have ended up working ahead because they didn't know what was coming. So do yourself a favor, read through all these tickets so that you can really focus your work. Sometimes you'll hear that referred to as scope creep, where the ticket will say one thing. It'll say, sort the list. And you're like, well, let's sort the list, but let's also style it. And it's like, where does it end? Where does it end? So when you're going through these tickets, just do exactly what it says. Try not to do any more, because that's actually a really good skill to have going into being an engineer as well, is being able to just do what's asked and not flourish it into this big, massive project. It's a good practice and focus. Okay, so if we pop back over to the orientation, what it says here, a task or a story is done if all of those AC acceptance criteria have been met. If it's a UI feature, it's been reviewed for accessibility. The code to complete it has been approved by the other team, the other pair of developers on your team. And the code has been reviewed and approved by what we're calling the product owner. In this case, it's one of your mentors. So again, each week, your team of 4 developers will split into 2 pairs of 2. Each of those pairs will tackle one of those issues on your board. Then by the end of the 8 weeks, all of those tickets will have moved all the way across the board to done, and you will have a really amazing working app that you built on a team of engineers. Congratulations. It's fantastic. Okay, so if we're going down the coordination and communication, it's super duper helpful to document your work in a very public way so other people can see it. This is helpful for your teammates, the other pair. It's helpful for you and your pair, and it's helpful for your mentors too. So if you can practice just being really open and transparent and organized with your progress, you'll move a lot faster through the week. It'll be a lot more organized and easy to stay up to date with. So one way that you can do this is by creating a draft PR. So each week when you take your story, the first thing you'll do is you'll create a branch, and we'll go into that. But once you get that branch, if you go ahead and create a draft PR, it allows you to take notes right alongside the code that you're working on in GitHub. And that can be really powerful for when you're asking your mentor, hey, we have this function that's supposed to be sorting this list, but it's not quite working right. Rather than writing that in, Slack or something, you can put it right alongside the function. So they don't even have to go looking for it. So that's a good thing to practice. Moving down to Slack, most of our team's coordination will happen through Slack. Again, this is a really common thing when you're working on a team of developers as well. So it's a good thing to practice and get used to. If you're not super familiar with Slack, that's okay. That's what you're here for, is to learn this kind of collaboration. So here are a couple tips we put together to get you kind of in the headspace of working on a team in Slack. Number 1, threads. Use threads. Threads are fantastic. There's 2 reasons why threads are really fantastic, and they take some time getting used to, and people generally will not want to use them at first, but I promise they're worth it. One is they encapsulate the conversation, so it's easier for people to find the answers. So if, say, Hamina asks, how do I create or do this kind of get command? If I didn't put it in a thread and say, Mike and 2 other people sent messages in the channel after her, now the answer to that question is so far disconnected from it. So in a month from now, when somebody's looking for that, they're gonna have to go to her message and then scroll through the whole channel to find the answers. But if I respond to her right there in the thread, a month later, when somebody's looking for that same answer, they're perfectly paired together and really easy to navigate. So use threads when you're talking about a theme. When you have a question or you're working on one thing, keep it in a nice tidy thread. 2, they keep notifications to a minimum. And people can opt out of following those conversations and not get pinged all the time. This is really important because you will find that Slack can feel really noisy, maybe a little overwhelming, and having a good grasp on what's important to you can give you a lot of peace of mind. So if you can see, I was tagged in this thread and I'm getting notifications, but it's actually not relevant to me, then just unfollow that thread. And then you can save yourself the anxiety of getting extra pings because they can be a little anxiety inducing and we know that. So protect yourself. Okay, number 2, speaking of notifications, tag people when you need them. So if you need me, do not hesitate to tag me because again, Slack is noisy and I probably will miss it if you just say my name without a tag or assume that I know the message is for me because I might not see it that way. So if you're trying to get a hold of a person directly, do tag them. If you need just anybody who's here, say you're working on a problem and you're stuck right now and you'd like help right now and you want to see who's here, just do the here tag and that'll be ping anybody who's in your channel at the time. And then you also have a chat, like a group for your team. So TCL, say 44 developers and TCL 44 mentors, for example. So if you need the other pair or all of the developers on your team, use that group. If you need your mentors for some reason, use that group. Anyway, the point here is don't feel like you're being a pest. It is absolutely the only way to get answers quickly and efficiently, and we all know that. So tag away. The third thing, use GIFs and emojis liberally. Communication is hard when it's not verbal, and it's hard to understand how people are thinking and feeling. So don't be afraid to add a lot of emotion in the form of GIFs and emojis and just fun language. You can also disable the animations of GIFs and emojis if you have any kind of motion sensitivity. And there's a link here in the orientation doc on how to do that. Also, like on the side of Slack, like on the theme of Slack, Slack shouldn't just be a place, and I firmly believe this in your actual jobs that you go out and do in the world. It shouldn't be all business. Like this is what you spend 8 hours of your weekdays doing. This is your team. These are your people. Feel completely compelled to build relationships in there. Share pictures of your kids, your food, your dogs, whatever it might be. This is how you build those relationships. And when you have relationships with people on your team, it's going to make working so much easier. It's going to build like trust and safety so that you can move forward in a much freer feeling way. So yes, cats too, not discriminating against cats here. Okay, cool. So Slack can be hard to get used to, is going to be your best friend, acts as a resource for historical information, and just a really great way to stay up to date with everybody. Great, okay, the development process. So you start your week, you get the issue and your partner, and then you have to start working. So now what? The first thing you'll do is create a new Git branch on your project. And we have a guide on how to do that here. But basically what you'll do is the initials of person 1, could be anybody, and the initials of person 2, followed by a short description of what you're working on. So in this example, it's me, Stacie Taylor, and Alejandro Nanez here connecting to Firestore. And so if anybody on the team were to look at that branch, they would know exactly who's doing what. And it's just a nice tidy way to keep your branch names. So here in your first weekly sync, your mentors are going to do a short presentation on how to do some of the Git basics, but there's a little guide here on how to create and check out these branches if you need to return back to it. But basically you'll git checkout -b and then the name of your branch. This is creating that branch. And then git push u origin and your branch name is what's going to take that branch from your local machine, from your laptop, and send it up to GitHub so that your partner and your mentors, everybody else can have access to that. So once you've gone through that, you and your partner have pair programmed together for like 2-3 hours. You've written all the code necessary to fulfill the feature. The next thing you're going to do is create a pull request. When you create a pull request, you'll probably already have a draft pull request at this point, so you can just convert that to a regular one. There's like a nice, I think, green button or something that will do that for you in GitHub. The second thing, notify the other pair in Slack that they have a PR ready for review. Again, tag them directly so that they know. So then that pair will go in, they'll give you any comments that they have about the code, any suggestions for improvements. They might ask you questions about, what does this code do? And they'll go through the code review process. Number 3, incorporate any feedback from that other pair until you're feeling really good about the code and they approve it and they say, yep, this looks great. Then once you get the other pair's feedback, you're gonna ask your mentors, again, tag them directly for a review too. This will be the final review on it. If they have any feedback, you and your partner will work through that feedback. And when it gets the final approval, you will hit merge. It will send it up to your production app or the live app that you see on the internet. And then you can celebrate. And that's kind of the cadence of how that development flow will go. And you saw that reflected in your project board as well. It was like to do, in progress, ready for peer review, meaning the other pair, ready for mentor review, and then done. And when it's in done, that's when you've merged it and we'll see it live on the internet. Okay, so when does everything happen? This project should take about 40 hours total. And Andrew mentioned before that that should be about 5 hours a week. This 5 hours a week is super important to us because we have found that one of the big barriers into tech is the time that people have to give to programs like these. A lot of us who are parents or working full-time jobs don't have 20 hours a week to dedicate to building up skills to get a job as an engineer. So we've narrowed it down to 5 hours, trying to cram the most valuable stuff into those 5 hours. So please, please, please try to stick to that. If you're feeling like you're spending more time than that, let your mentors know, because there's either an opportunity there for us to refine the program more to fit into that 5 hours, or there might be opportunities for coaching on time management there as well. So be loud about it. It's not something to be embarrassed about or hide. It's just something that happens. So let's talk about it openly. Okay, sorry. In that 5 hours, 2 to 3 will be pair programming with your partner. About 1 hour will be allotted for weekly syncs. You'll also have office hours, which will be optional. And then the rest of the time will be researching, doing code review, and just organizing your work. And the weekly cadence, let's move down here. This is just, oh, I think my headphones are gonna die soon. So if you hear me cut out, let me know. Okay. This is just a sample. I know there's one team who has their weekly syncs on Saturday, which is fine. You'll just shift this timeline just a hair to accommodate that. So Monday, the biggest thing to note here is that you really want to front load your week with the coding piece, because you will be surprised by how long the code review and feedback cycle takes at the end of the week. So if you can spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday working with your partner to get all the code out the door, that'll leave plenty of time for the rest of the things to happen later in the week. So beginning of the week, you code with your partner. Thursday, you ask, this again isn't solid, but around Thursday, you'll ask the other pair, hey, can you review our code? That gives them a little time to go review, leave comments, check it out, and run it. Implement all their feedback. Around Friday, Saturday, ask for your mentors code review, again, tagging them directly, and then implement all of their changes so that when you come to your weekly sync on either Saturday or Sunday, the code is already in production, it's ready to demo live, and you're good to go. So again, try and front load it as much as possible. There is this fantastic infograph, would you call it? Maybe? Sure. Infograph on kind of what this looks like if you like to absorb information more visually. Okay, so let's pop down to weekly syncs. Every weekend of this program, you will have a 1 hour weekly sync, and those meetings go through a really familiar pattern. So every other week, they will be slightly different, but in a very predictable way. So every single week on Saturday or Sunday, the first thing both pairs will do is demo their work. And this is something really, really good to get familiar with, because it's something that you'll do, again, working as an engineer, and something that will be really helpful for you when you're going through interviews, being able to talk through things that you've built and walk through code. So that'll be about 15 minutes. So, 7 minutes for each pair, roughly. Then on every other week, you'll do your mentors will do a learning module. We put together some really great presentations that your mentors will walk through. mostly revolving around communication and collaboration skills, but there are a couple other things, like there's one on Git and there's one on accessibility too. Although the one on Git really is collaboration. That's how engineers collaborate, is through Git. So I guess that is also collaboration themed. It's all collab. Okay, then on the weeks where there is no learning module, there will be a retrospective instead. And this is a really common ritual that takes place on engineering teams, where you take some time to give appreciations to people and things that happened over the last 2 weeks. We do 1 week sprints here. You get to talk about what went really well. So last week, I really loved it when Emily, wrote this great PR description. You'll say like, these are really good things. We should keep doing these good things. And you'll also take time to just be really open and transparent about what could be better, because really the only way any of us are going to grow is through that kind of feedback. And so it can be hard and a little uncomfortable to get familiar with this at first, especially when you're on a new team and you haven't quite built a lot of trust yet. But this is a really safe space where you should be able to do that with people who are also learning emotions with all of you as well. So be transparent, grow together. Retros are incredible, and practicing giving this feedback in this safe space before you have to go do it on a team where you're getting paid can be a really helpful thing. And then the last 15 minutes of every meeting is going to be planning for the next week. So in that time, we will look at that project board. We'll go over the next 2 tickets that are coming up, assign them to one of the pairs, and you can find the pairs in your repo as well, and then move them into the to-do and get started. And that's a good time to ask any clarifying questions around, really take time to read through the ticket and be like, I don't understand this. Because if you can get information right there live, it's going to help speed you up going forward. Okay, it's a little fuzzy. I'm going to wait for a second for it to focus. There we go.
Yeah, you need to catch your breath.
Yes, I do. That was a lot. It literally says, whew, that was a lot, right? It was. There's a good chance we're missing things. There's a lot of nuances to the program that you just can't capture in an orientation like this. So if we missed something, I do apologize, but just be really noisy, because this is all of our first time doing this thing together. And so everybody probably has the same questions that you have. So if you have a question, be really loud and transparent about it. Try to stay out of direct messages, because other people want to know this stuff too. And the only way we can learn and grow together is if we're really transparent. So use the cohort channel, use your team channels, and again, just be really noisy if you have questions about things. Let's run through a quick recap of everything we just talked about. During your time at the Collab Lab, you're going to gain experience working on a team of engineers with experienced mentors. And this is set up in a way that you'll see a lot of companies set up their work out in the wild. The second thing, we'll spend 8 weeks working together to build this app. Watch the demo, it's very helpful. Third thing, your team, each of your teams consists of 4 engineers, 3 mentors, and a code of conduct responder. Each week, you'll break those 4 engineers up into 2 teams or 2 pairs of 2. Your pair will work on one of the issues from your project board. You'll spend about 5 hours a week doing this. Again, if you feel like you're spending more than that.
No, it just switched out. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Let us know if you're spending more than that 5 hours. That 5 hours will be pair programming. It will be doing researching, code reviews, organizing your work, and being on that weekly sync where you're all demoing your work and learning together. Then each weekend of the program, you'll have that weekly sync again, demos, learning modules, retrospectives, and planning for the next week. So what is next? The very next thing that will happen is that each of your teams will have their first weekly sync. So again, that's that meeting where we do a learning module, we talk about the work that's coming up. If you haven't gotten an invite to that already, ask in your team channels, because they are all scheduled and ready to go, and they are happening either today or tomorrow. And we'll get started. That's the thing. One thing that I didn't put on here, because this is already a lot of information, but I will just give you a little sneak peek, and I will tell you more about it in coming weeks. But after this 8-week program, we have an optional 2-week program, which is really fantastic, that we call Career Lab. And in that time, you get to take everything you've worked on over the last 8 weeks and figure out how to talk about it in interviews. And, you know, we have a module on refining your LinkedIn and doing mock interviews with people who in the field who actually interview people. So just keep that in mind. I will give you more information about that later, but we'll just focus on the core Collab Lab experience for now, building this app in your team.
Good job, Stacie. Wow.
Comments, concerns.
I'm sure it's a lot of information. You're probably like, I don't know if I can keep track of all this stuff. It's a little bit like learning a new board game or something. You know how you try to learn a new game and you're reading through the rules and it's like, I don't know. But then once you start playing it, like it starts to make sense, right? So, you know, you'll get in that first weekly sync, you know, maybe that first week you're a little disoriented a little bit, but, you know, tons of support around you, you know, just ask all the questions. And by, you know, second or third week, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like you just kind of get to see the cadence of it, what all the pieces are and stuff, and start kind of working, like kind of gelling as a team. Really fun to watch teams kind of come in there, everyone's a little tentative and nervous and stuff. And then, you know, after, you know, 2 or 3 weeks in, everyone's like high-fiving each other virtually and stuff. So
I love it. One thing that I like to call out too in the beginning is to kind of like set your mind, like to frame this experience in a very specific way, is that Collab Lab exists really because it's hard to get that first job as an engineer because you're interviewing and you don't have any experiences to talk about really. And so we've set up this program to very much like mirror experiences in the real world. So it's essentially like having that first job on an engineering team. So everything that you do at the Collab Lab, be thinking about it as if like, this is an actual engineering role. I'm working on a team. We're, you know, using agile methodologies, because when you do go to interview, when they're asking things like, tell me about a time when you had to give feedback to a teammate, you can pull experiences from this to talk about, and it's really powerful. So this, I feel like is different than just a fun side project that you're working on, because it has all of those elements that you actually use in engineering roles. So be thinking about it like that so that you can collect those stories so that you can interview really well.
Yeah, we'll even use that, you know, when we get to Career Lab, the optional program that Stacie mentioned. We'll be doing mock interviews, and you know, we'll be kind of giving you some of the language you can use in the mock interviews that we do in Career Lab based on your Collab Lab experience. So, you know, just treat it like you're kind of going to work for 5 hours a week, which is my job is like that.
And not to mention too, like these are all your repos, all of the work that you're doing, except for that's in Slack, is public. And so it becomes an artifact for you to use in those interviews. So you're like, here's an example of how I write pull request descriptions. And you have this big, beautiful pull request, or here's an example of how I do code reviews. And then you can link them to somebody else's PR where you're asking really good questions and giving high fives. And, you know, like these are all artifacts for you to use.
Yeah, not at all a requirement or even an expectation, but there have been people in the past who have sort of blogged, you know, week to week about their experience. And that's a great way to solidify your learning. It's also a great way to just like create these artifacts like Stacie's saying, almost like, you know, kind of almost like a diary or something of your experience through Collab Lab. And you can then at the end, you go back and read the first one, you're like, oh, wow. Like you can kind of then really see how much you've grown and learned through the process. So, you know, if you're so inclined and you have the time, highly recommend, even if it's private notes, you know, just kind of taking some notes on like, oh, this week, these are the things I did, and this is what I think I learned. And then the next week, like, oh, actually I did learn that, or actually I need to go deeper on hooks or whatever the thing is, you know.
Lindsay, I love your comment in here. I don't know if y'all are following along in the chat, but Lindsay, do you want to just say that out loud in case anybody's not following along? They're from their phones or something. I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I went through the program and like very quickly, like by the second or third week, I would have an interview and I would talk about my experience in TCL as the majority to back up my credibility as a software engineer in an interview, and talk about like pair programming, talk about giving feedback to others, talking about working with the team to make a better product, because you see like as you're working together with someone else, they have an idea that maybe you didn't think of, or you have an idea that they didn't think of, and it just comes together to make something work better. And that's really cool.
Love that. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Like not quite sure how something works. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm interested in a coffee and not coffee office hours that you
Mm.
mentioned?
Sure. Do any of the
Tell me
mentors
more
wanna
about
talk those? Lindsay, do you want to talk about those, or Mike or something?
So office hours are held by the mentors once a week, and a mentor will rotate. So 1 week it'll be one mentor, the next week it'll be a different one. And every week it's for an hour. You don't have to come, it's optional. I use office hours to talk about things that were happening with our app, like weird little bugs, talk about passing state, talk about managing our code. We also talked about like our interview experience, and our mentors shared like what their interview experience was. Like one of my mentors had interviewed for 50 jobs as a like 10-year developer recently, and was able to share a lot about doing that. So you can talk about a lot of different things with your mentors, and it's really cool.
Totally. Yeah, thank you. I like that.
Yeah. Early in the program, it tends to be, or in the project, it tends to be, very kind of like focused on the work itself. And as time goes on, it starts to transition into more sort of career questions and things like, what's it like to work at that type of company and those kinds of things. Love that.
One thing that I want to call out that just popped into my mind is there are some issues on the board that won't take much time. And when you're doing that, don't think that you did it wrong. Get feedback from your mentors and stuff. If you want to like work on something additional, maybe like write up some docs or do something extra that week, that's fine, but don't feel obligated to do that. If you finish your work early, just finish your work early and then go do something else, like eat a sandwich. I don't know. You don't have to just like fill your time with working or overwork. It's like, be like, I did my job, done. Bye.
How are y'all feeling about it? You nervous, excited? Both? Yeah. I mean, you're also meeting like a whole new group of people and stuff. So that's, sometimes there's a little trepidation there as well, right? But your mentors are all lovely human beings. I can vouch for every one of them, and they're going to be welcoming, and it's going to, it'll be, you're going to hopefully quickly, settle in and have a lot of fun with your team. So
it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, then, again, just to recap, the very next thing that you will all do is attend your first weekly sync. One team has their first weekly sync today, and the rest are tomorrow. And in that weekly sync is where you will find out, I mean, you can find out now because it's in the GitHub repo, but you'll find out who you're pairing with and what issue you'll be tackling in that first week, which is not defined in the repo. That's like every week you will, in your weekly sync, they'll be like, here's the 2 issues we're working on. Does anybody have any specific one they want to do? So just know that that's not documented. You won't find that. And you'll go to your first weekly sync, and then you'll start pairing probably Sunday or Monday with your partner and get started.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we will, this is recorded. So if you want to go back and rewatch it, you totally can. If some of your friends in your team missed it, we will link to it, and you should encourage them to go watch it. And we will see you all in your weekly syncs.
Thanks, everybody.
Let us know if you have questions. We're always here for you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.